Welcome to Flow with the Grow. I'm your host, Sophia, a health and fitness professional, positivity distributor, and a real-life human being with real-life challenges. Every Tuesday, you will hear my honest conversations on the day-to-day highs and lows that life teaches us, as well as bring you actionable tips that you can implement to improve your health and wellness journey. This podcast will empower you to flow with the inevitable setbacks of life. You will learn what it means to flow with the grow, see through a lens of optimism, and navigate your way to living your best life. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Now let's jump into your daily dose of positivity and growth. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Flow with the Grow, number 30. Crazy. I can't believe it's already been 30 episodes. Wow. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for listening. And if you are tuning in again for a second, third, fourth, 30th time, welcome back. So happy you're here. I appreciate you. I just want to say that I am currently at my sister's and there are two littles running around. And actually right before I was about to hit record, I hear my nephew coming down. Actually, I didn't hear him coming down, but he was outside the door and I hear, Fia. So of course I open the door and see what he's up to and just played with him for a little bit. It's funny because so my family calls me Sophie, not Sophia. And so he has never heard anyone call me Sophia, because anyone who does call me Sophia is usually just from Brookings, or if I met you at any time after college, really, or during college, it's Sophia. He's never heard anyone say my name, say Sophia, but he calls me Fia. So it's crazy. Like, it's the cutest thing ever, but I just don't know where he got that from. But I love him to death. And anyways, if you hear screams, cries, bangs, people, littles, doing their thing, that is why. So just a heads up. Here is a review that I got, and it is from JEP Fit for Life. He called it wonderfully motivating. He said, "This podcast is great. I felt that Sophia was genuine and personable. Listening to her speak was as if she was speaking just to me. Her pleasant vocal rhythm and caring voice was not only motivating but enjoyable to listen to. I thought that her subject matter was relevant and addressed situations most people have gone through and or felt. She presented situations and then gave solutions to help deal with those situations. You can tell that Sophia really cares for others and she uses personal experiences to validate her thoughts and opinions. I enjoy listening to this podcast and will continue to do so." Wow, thank you so much. I, again, just love reading these again and again. I just have a smile on my face, and I appreciate you taking the time to write out this thought-out review. It means the world to me. So if this is your first time, I decided to read a review every time, or every episode, in the beginning of every episode, just to kind of as a thank you and to shout that person out, and because it makes me feel good to read those. And so that's that. Today in this episode, I actually planned to talk about a different topic originally. So I was going to share about my tattoos and explain what each means, the meaning behind them, and the story behind them. But then I kind of had a feeling I needed to talk about something else. And that something else is because Christmas goodies galore, right? During the holiday season. I know we've all been there. So I decided to speak on a topic that is all about Christmas and goodies. In the past, I have really struggled during the holidays. There have been holidays where I just binge galore on goodies and anything and everything. And I'm like, I'll lose it in the new year, or I'm just going to eat anything and everything that I want now, because then I'm going to restrict. So it's like I planned to restrict before the holiday season, and then bam, binging for like a month. And then knowing that I was going to restrict when the new year came. Guess what? The new year came. Guess what happened? I didn't restrict, actually, or if I did, I would go back to binging. And it was just this yo-yoing of up and down. And I always would hear of, tips to do this, to not binge in the holiday season, or tips to have a healthier holiday season, or alternatives and things like that. And I kind of felt like, should I create this episode where I share tips that have helped me this year and a little bit recently? Am I a hypocrite for sharing this because this is something that I have struggled with in the past, and now I'm giving tips to help someone out there, to help you in having holiday treats without the guilt? And when people say that, it's like, that's so tough, because it didn't ever work for me in the past. I would have the holiday treats and I would feel guilty. I'd feel like shit. I would regret what I ate. Like, those things that people were sharing weren't working. I knew that if I followed those, it would work, and it would work for me. And you know what? I just didn't do it. I just didn't follow it. And I think it takes an awareness and a practice of going through this holiday season year after year after year. It might not happen this year or the next year, but it's a practice. And then I got out of my own damn head and I said, no, like, I am doing something that is helping me this year, the first time in maybe ever that I'm actually having this, I guess, balance and non-restriction, non-guilt. I'm having this control, this change in mindset and perspective, and this change in my relationship with food and the way that I speak to and about my food and about myself. And so I'm just like, okay, get out of your own head. This is a hell yes. Share this, what you're going through, and the things that are helping you, because someone out there, you possibly need to hear this. And so I'm not saying that these tips will 100% work for you, or that you need to do this in order to have a healthier holiday season, or that these will work for everyone. I just want to give you another resource in your mind of how you can practice a healthier holiday season if you're wanting that. And you know what? Maybe you're not, and that's okay too. Maybe you want to go all out this holiday season, and then you are going to start in the new year. And that's what you need. That's just your plan in your mind. And that's what you want. Great. That is just perfect. But maybe you're someone who, like me, you do want to have a healthier season and you want to make some changes now. You don't want to wait until the new year. Maybe you need some ideas to help you with not restricting, not binging, with those holiday goodies. And just like me, sweets are my weakness and I love the goodies. And so maybe that's what you're wanting. And maybe this is your first year thinking, okay, I want to make some changes now and I want to practice being healthier. And I don't want to wait till the new year. And I'm also not saying that I'm perfect with this 100%, because this is something that I'm always working towards improving for myself. These are things that I am currently doing that have been helping me to not restrict the type of foods that I love, and then binge. Like, this has been something that's been helping me recently. And these are kind of just tactics, I guess, that I'm using to help me as well. So this is for you if you are wanting to have a healthier holiday season, but without the guilt and without the restriction. You want to enjoy your favorite holiday foods that you love and not feel out of control, not wait until the new year. And you can even use these in your day-to-day life when it's not the holiday season. In the past, this is kind of how it's gone for me. I would restrict, and then holiday season, I would binge. And I would resort to saying, okay, well, this is once a year that I'm having this, I'm just going to go all out. And really, like, it was that mindset of me saying I can't have that thing, and then during the holiday season saying screw it and having it all. But then also there's this factor of when I would eat something, when I would eat things, it's like I couldn't stop. I literally could not stop. It's like I was mindlessly eating, and I look back and I'm like, what was I doing? But in my mind, my brain, it's like I could not get myself to have that control. And then I also resorted to going through some cleanses during the holiday season. I usually do a plant-based cleanse once a year. And I would say that it's not restricting in the fact that I get to eat a lot of real food, a lot of it. But it is restricting a little bit. Anytime you go on a cleanse or a diet or anything, there will be restrictions. And I have been on this journey of not feeling like I need that in order to have control and in order to have a better relationship with food. I want to just be able to do it on my own. And so by doing these during the holiday season, yes, it helps me to kind of have a better relationship with food, to eat better, to not binge. And to even after the cleanse, I wouldn't binge. Like I would slowly work my way into eating different things. But I was like, you know what, this year, I want to be able to enjoy those things without that feeling held back of I can't have those things. I want the freedom of being able to choose on my own and being empowered through that. So here are 6 tips that I'm going to share that have been helping me a lot recently. These are 6 tips, tactics, mind shifts that you can implement during the holiday season this week of Christmas, which, by the way, as of now, if you're listening to this, Tuesday of 2020, Merry Early Christmas. But these are also tips, mind shifts that you can implement even when it's not the holiday season. Here is my tip number 1 for how to have holiday treats without the guilt. And that is to have the holiday treats without the restriction. Meaning, what goes into this also is a change in mindset. It's a change in the way you speak to yourself and to food and about the foods that you love and to the foods you want to eat, but you say to yourself, I can't have that. And it's a shift in mindset that takes practice. Even practice when it's not the holiday season. Instead of, I can't have this, maybe you say, I don't want this because of blank, of how this makes me feel. Because then that way it becomes an empowered decision. And it feels different with one saying, I can't have this or I shouldn't have this. It feels icky, it feels negative, it feels restricting. And then you know what? Our brains, when we say we can't have that thing, what do you want more of? That thing that you keep telling yourself that you can't have or that you shouldn't have. So now for me, it's like I get excited about these treats that I get, not because, they taste amazing and good, but I know that it's going to be an empowering decision. It's going to strengthen my discipline muscle. It's going to strengthen my mindfulness, my awareness. I get excited because I feel the sense of freedom and relief that I have let go the restriction of these types of foods. I get excited because I know that I'm more practicing the empowerment and strength of, okay, yes, I'm going to eat this. I'm excited because of that change in mindset. I know that I'm not going to have that need for more or the want to keep eating it, and I'm not going to have that mindless eating of it. And I think honestly, it's just the fact that I get excited because I no longer am restricting myself. It's like a sense of freedom and relief that I've never really felt before. And again, it's easier said than done. And it's something that I've been practicing throughout the years. And I'm not saying that I will be perfect with this year as we are going into Christmas and the week of Christmas, where there's probably holiday parties and holiday office parties and employee parties and family gatherings and friend gatherings and people bringing you plates of goodies and into the office. So I want you to know that you don't have to restrict. You don't have to not have those foods that you love that maybe only come once a year, but you can change your mindset around the way you speak about it. And you can have that cookie or that scotcheroo or that Christmas cookie and have it without the guilt and without the restriction because you have changed your mindset. And I think that also, for me, there's always this fear of if I did give in to this treat, I would binge and eat more and more. And this fear of gaining a lot of weight and just a whole lot of fear behind it. And now that my mind has kind of shifted from that fear-based mindset to more of like a loving relationship with food and my body, it all kind of plays together. And with that also comes having a plan in place. At least for me, having a plan in place always helps. And even during the holiday season. And then there's this component of when I visualize myself going through this plan of making empowered decisions of this food and of having that better mindset and having more awareness when I do eat those foods. Like being able to visualize myself doing that and not restricting, but saying no when I really don't want it, or saying yes when, you know what, I really do want it, and not having that guilt and visualizing myself feeling stronger by just having those things and visualizing myself being okay with eating whatever it is I choose to eat. And that brings me to my tip number 2, or tactic number 2. I have made this commitment and decision and promise to myself that every day I will move my body in some way, whether it's a strength training workout, a HIIT workout, cardio-based, yoga-based, stretching, going for a walk, going for a run, doing something, moving my body every single day. And then the other decision, commitment, promise I made to myself was to anytime before I have a sweet or any indulgence food, I will make sure to have real food first. And of course, drink a lot of water. So drinking a lot of water is important to me and having that before I eat anything. But then having a protein and a vegetable. So for example, when I'm at the gym and this past week, I've had a couple clients bring some treats. And before I have anything, even though I want it, even though I know like it's going to taste good and I'm hungry, or maybe I've already worked out and like I am hungry and I know that I won't feel too bad if I have that right after my workout or soon after my workout because of the fact that I'm not already full. I know for me, that's not nutritionally nourishing and doesn't have much nutritional value in it. And I want to make sure to get nourishment into my body first. So I will make sure to wait on having anything and have a protein and a vegetable first. Maybe it's a salad with tuna or salmon, or maybe it's hard-boiled eggs or eggs and a salad. But it helps me knowing that I have put nourishment into my body before I eat that cookie dough or cookie or brownie or whatever it is. Not only that, but it helps me to feel fuller, more satiety. I feel better. I do, because I know that if I were to eat a lot of those other the treats first, I wouldn't feel my best. I wouldn't feel good. And so overall, I will eat less of those things because I have filled my body with nourishment first. Tip number 3, I think through how I'll feel after I eat those treats. And I'll make the decision knowing this. Like I will really think through, okay, after I eat this, I fully want to know and understand in my brain, in my mind, that this is how I could feel. When I eat these foods, this is how I feel. When I eat this nourishing food, this is how I feel. And I weigh kind of like pros and cons. I kind of weigh it out in my mind, which also helps with me first having nourishment first and then having the sweets. But my point is when I am presented with an option here of eating some sort of treat, I think through and I imagine, okay, this is how I'm going to feel. I fully know this, but now, okay, do I really want this? Am I wanting this? And Sometimes it's a hell yes. Like, yeah, I'm going to eat it. I want that cookie. But I understand and I know first that I may not feel my best. I may not have the energy that I would normally have. I may feel a little weighed down, maybe a little bit bloated. But like in my mind, I'm understanding this first. So that way when it does hit, when it does come, I'm not taken aback by it, or I don't have that guilt because of the fact that I have already thought it through. And I don't have that regret as much because I've already thought it through. Because I know that I could have a little bit of regret here. But then I also talk to myself and say, no, I'm not going to have this regret. I am just going to eat this and I'm going to feel good about it. I fully know how I feel, and that's that. And when I can think through that, when I slow down and think through that, that's also me kind of visualizing myself eating it and feeling the way that maybe I do want to feel after I eat it, which maybe it'll help me to eat less of whatever the treats are. Which brings me to tip number 4, and that is to have this awareness and consciousness of when I eat. So conscious eating, mindful eating, making a decision, and a promise to myself to sit down anytime I have any sort of food or any sort of treat. So for me, it's the treats. I think for most people, I feel like that's true for a lot of people. But to have this commitment and promise to myself, to have that decision to say, okay, I'm going to sit down and enjoy it, truly enjoy it every time I eat that treat. Because that way I am slowing down. I am not just mindlessly eating and then I will overeat, but instead I taste every single bite. I really enjoy it. And when I do this, actually, I am so much better at not binging, and I'm so much better at listening to my body, listening to how it feels. And by slowing down, I also can notice those feelings. And then when I'm just satiated or I'm to the point of not feeling full, overly full, I stop. And this is the part where for me, it was the most challenging because I would want more and more and more of that treat. And sometimes I would just say, screw it, I'm just going to keep eating it. And maybe for you, that's what you really struggle with. And that's okay, because then you can also practice this for yourself so you can get better at it. But if I just sit and stand and eat with no mindfulness, that's when I tend to not really have that control and just continue to eat and eat and eat and eat without truly listening to my body and to how I feel. So not only do I enjoy it more, but I have that holiday treat. I have that treat without that regret and guilt afterwards because I'm able to slow down and stop and be good with just eating whatever it is I choose to eat, not eating more. And by the way, after I eat whatever it is I'm eating, I tend to like to eat something healthy after, or just more nourishing after that. So whether it's fruit or a vegetable, or going to brush my teeth, that always helps. Having gum, I don't know if you have thought about that or not, or tried it yourself. Maybe it does help you. Maybe you have tried it and it doesn't help you. But if I just get up and do that right away, that also helps me to kind of just stop that process of overeating. All right, 2 more. Number 5, this has been a game changer. This has been huge. I kind of just started doing this, probably last year I did a little bit. Maybe that was when I first had the idea to do that. I don't know if someone told me that or what, but to put the treats in the freezer. The other day, I was eating peanut butter, and we all know peanut butter is addicting, and we all love peanut butter. Actually, I know some people who don't, which is just mind-blowing to me, but peanut butter just eating straight out of the container. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to the point I was like, I've had like 10 spoonfuls of peanut butter. And you know what? I'm just going to put it in the freezer. This is where I tend to still mindlessly kind of eat things. And that happens. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put it in the freezer. And that way I'm less tempted. So doing the same thing with holiday treats. I got a bunch of Ziploc bag fulls of holiday treats in a box. And I went home. That was at the gym. I went home, put them in a big container. I had some of these treats and then I put them in the freezer. I can begin to take them out slowly, maybe one at a time instead of having all of it there right in front of me. It's less tempting because it's not just sitting out in front of me. It's not on the counter. It's not in the fridge where I see it every day. And I'm taking away the convenience of having it right there. Out of sight, out of mind. Even when it is in my mind, it's in the freezer and it takes a while to, de-thaw, whatever. But that just helps me putting things in the freezer. And not only that, but they last a lot longer. So I can enjoy them for a longer period of time. And tip number 6, have a healthier alternative. You know what? You don't have to have alternatives to your healthy food options, but it is a great way to not overindulge, to indulge but not overindulge. But I think it's important to find things that you really love that can take place of that other thing that you really love but makes you feel even worse. And you're wanting to maybe not necessarily avoid that food, but avoid the way that it makes you feel and practice eating less of that. And there are things all around us. I mean, we can order things that get delivered to us, and there are great resources and places that do that. I know if you're in the Sioux Falls, South Dakota area, there is a place called Be Loved Kitchen by Emily. She makes raw desserts and you can't even tell a difference. Like, it was only a few ingredients, but they fill you up and they're freaking amazing. There's a place called Daily here in Sioux Falls that has also treats, and these are treats that they just have healthier, more nourishing ingredients. And so I'm always on the lookout for things like that because I know that they won't make me feel as bad as if I were to go to, the Hy-Vee bakery and get a box of cookies, which, by the way, I've done before and then binged on all of those. But my point is that it is okay, and it helps me to have some sort of alternative to my favorite treats and holiday treats, and have maybe a mix of both. Holiday treats for me, there are so many out there that we only get during this holiday season. So I don't want to restrict, anymore. I want to be able to enjoy those things this year since it's only going to be once a year, but I also don't want to go overboard. So kind of by having a mix of those plus a mix of all these other tips I've told you about, this really helped me. So have that lefse. If you haven't had lefse, I think it's called lefse. Highly recommend. So delicious. But have that chocolate covered pretzel, bake those cookies, have that experience with kids and decorating those Christmas cookies, or do it in your own way, do it in a different way, have that alternative, have that holiday treat that you only get once a year, and start to implement these new behaviors to help you in not restricting and having that guilt, having that regret. And I would encourage you to do this so that way you're not just waiting until the new year, because from experience, when I do that and I say, I'm just going to have anything and everything and allow myself to have anything and everything and then feel even worse, and this horrible negative cycle of like restricting and then binging for a month and eating everything and then every single night feeling to the point of like where I want to throw up. And then the next day I do it all over again. And it's like, why am I doing this? Why do I keep doing this? And it's because I just was restricting, and by putting these practices into place for me has helped me to not do that, because I feel even worse when that has happened. So I would encourage you to not wait until the new year and start having these habits and behaviors in place, trying new things that work for you, so that way you can have better control, more balance, and having those holiday treats that you love, but then also doing it in a way that's healthy for you, whatever that looks like, so that you don't have to, quote, catch up and start again. Because when that happens, more times than not, there's still going to be treats and parties and things that come up where you're still going to be spinning your wheels trying to make these habits or take these actions in restricting so that you don't do that. And then it's almost like you continue that, and then the next holiday season comes around and you're still battling with that in your mind, and then never have lost the holiday weight gain that you gained, that you said that you were going to lose, that you promised yourself. And maybe you have your own tips and tricks and things that you do during the holiday season, and I would also love to know about those. I'm sure that there are tons of ideas out there. These are just the main things that have been helping me lately, of things that I've been practicing. And really, I have been very, very successful in doing so. And so I know for me, I'm going to keep practicing that and using these mental tools and tips. And so just to recap, number 1 is to have the holiday treats without the restriction by changing your mindset, changing the way that you speak to your food and to the decisions that you make around having those treats. Number 2, having a plan for before you eat those treats. So moving your body every day, drinking a lot of water, eating a protein and vegetable first before having any of the treats, nourishing your body beforehand. Number 3, really thinking through and visualizing how you're going to feel after you eat that treat. How are you going to feel when you don't eat it? Do you really want it? Asking yourself those questions, having that conversation in your mind and making an informed, empowered, strong decision for whichever way that you choose. Number 4, sitting down and eating with mindfulness and having that conscious awareness when you do eat to really enjoy whatever that treat is. Number 5, using your freezer, putting those treats, that food in your freezer so that it is less tempting and they'll last longer. And number 6, find some healthier alternatives to the foods that you love, while also making sure to have those foods that only come once a year that you do love, and making that decision too of if you want that alternative or if you want to also just have that thing that you only get once a year, and making that decision with strength, with conviction. And if you use any other ideas or tips or tactics that have helped you through this holiday season to not wait till the new year, I would love to know. And I would love to know if these tips helped you at all in navigating this time of the year or any time of the year. I am on Instagram at Sophia_Dawn41. So that's SOPHIA_DAWN41. And lastly, just a loving reminder that whatever you do eat is okay. And there's always tomorrow. There's always a new day to choose again, to also work in your mind of not beating yourself up, even though that is super hard to do. Totally know. I totally get it. Get accountability, get help, get guidance. I'm definitely going to do an episode on, working through this aspect and kind of getting started into your health and fitness journey, maybe for the first time, but eat that cookie, eat that food that you love during the holiday season. And you know what? There might be days and nights where you do overeat, and that's okay. Give yourself permission ahead of time to allow these times to happen. Give yourself permission that it is okay. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself some of that self-care, self-love. And if you choose to not have that holiday treat, give yourself some more credit as well. You should be proud of that. Be proud of every decision that you make moving forward, whether it's the way that you want to feel or not. This is a practice. I want you to not be so hard on yourself. If you haven't already, please rate and review the show. It truly helps, and I always appreciate it. I love reading them. And subscribe, so that way you never miss an episode. I am wishing you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as we move into 2021. Spend this time and relax and spend this time with friends and family and indulge in the experiences behind whatever it is you're doing. Have those holiday treats without the guilt, without the restriction. And with that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, week, weekend. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Flow with the Grow. I'll see you next week for your daily dose of positivity and growth.